Lesson 1. Preview. Focus on the main idea. Rome's location helped it grow from a village into a powerful city. Places: Tiber River, Italian Peninsula, Mediterranean Sea, Rome. People: Tarquin, Junius Brutus. Rome's beginnings. You are there. You wonder if Roman legends are as amazing as Greek legends. So, you find a story about the founding of Rome. According to legend, a man overthrew his brother, the king. He then ordered that his twin nephews be drowned. He feared that the twins might someday challenge his power. The baby boys were placed in a basket and thrown into the Tiber River. The basket drifted to shore. There, a female wolf found it. She cared for and protected the boys. Later, a shepherd found the twins. He took them home, and he and his wife raised them. The boys were named Romulus and Remus. As teenagers, Romulus and Remus discovered who they really were. They killed the evil king and founded the city of Rome in 753 BC. Romulus laid out the boundaries of Rome and predicted, "It is heaven's will that my Rome shall be the capital of the world." You wonder whether his prediction proved to be true. Target skill. Main idea and details. As you read, think about how Roman civilization began and developed. A perfect location. Historians do not know whether Romulus and Remus ever lived. However, they do know that about 1600 BC, people came to live along the banks of the Tiber River on the Italian peninsula. Look at the map on this page. The Tiber River runs across the center of the peninsula, where there are many plains. Italy is mountainous, much like Greece. The Italian peninsula has one of the longest coastlines in Europe. It stretches 650 miles southward into the Mediterranean Sea. You will notice that Italy looks a lot like a high-heeled boot. The toe of the boot looks as if it is about to kick the island of Sicily. Italy forms a kind of bridge between Western Europe, North Africa, and Western Asia. Near the middle of the western coast is the city of Rome. It spreads across 7 low hills about 15 miles up the Tiber River. The hills offered good protection against attacks. They also offered some safety when the Tiber flooded. Review. What were the advantages of Rome's location? Main idea and details. The Romans learned from other cultures. In ancient times, ships from all parts of the Mediterranean could sail up the Tiber to Rome. Here, the ships could unload their cargo. Then they could load crops that were growing by the river. In Rome's harbor, citizens met sailors from Greece and other far-off lands. The Romans studied new ideas about growing crops and learned the stories and legends of other peoples. Throughout their history, the ancient Romans had a gift for learning from other cultures. The climate along the Tiber was ideal for crops, such as grapes and olives. 3/4 of Italy's land is hilly. The plains near the western coast are especially fertile. Italy's climate is warm and moist most of the year. These were ideal conditions for farming. At first, the early peoples of Italy called themselves Latins. When the village of Rome became more powerful, other villages united with them. They then began calling themselves Romans. Review. How did Romans benefit from the cultures of other countries? Main idea and details. Etruscan rule. As Rome grew in size, more Latins and other peoples joined them. Rome prospered. As a result, it attracted the interest of more powerful northern neighbors. These were the Etruscans. The Etruscans took over Rome about 600 BC. They soon gained control of nearly all of the Italian peninsula. The Etruscans were skilled builders and farmers. They may have taught these skills to the Romans. The Romans learned how to build aqueducts, or structures that carry flowing water to supply water to cities. They also learned how to make better weapons and ships. However, the Romans resented the Etruscan kings. In 509 BC, an Etruscan noble named Tarquin murdered the king and seized power. The Romans used this as an opportunity to challenge Etruscan rule. A Roman leader named Junius Brutus made a promise to himself to take the throne from Tarquin. Brutus and his supporters then forced Tarquin and his sons out of Rome. Brutus emerged from this victory as the new leader of Rome. Rome was about to enter a glorious period. During this time, the Romans would set up a form of government that people continue to study today. Rome's many victories would make Romulus's prediction of Rome's place in the world come true. Review. How did the Romans benefit from the Etruscans? Main idea and details. Summarize the lesson. 1600 BC. Ancestors of the Romans settled in Italy along the Tiber River. 753 BC. According to legend, Romulus and Remus founded Rome. 509 BC. The Romans overthrew the Etruscan kings. Research and writing skills. Use primary and secondary sources. What? Primary sources are snapshots of history. They are created by people who were there. Primary sources can be in the form of a photograph, painting, letter, recording, or document. For example, the reports Julius Caesar wrote of his battles are primary sources. A textbook that describes Caesar's battles would be a secondary source. A translation of a primary source is also considered a primary source. The first source shown below is a translation of a letter written by Pliny the Younger to the historian Tacitus. In it, he describes the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in AD 79. The letter is a primary source. The second source is an encyclopedia entry about the same event. It is a secondary source. A dense black cloud was coming up behind us, spreading over the earth like a flood. You could hear the shrieks of women, the wailing of infants, and the shouting of men. Wailing, loud crying. Pompeii was destroyed, along with Herculaneum, by the violent eruption of Mount Vesuvius on August 24th, AD 79. Because these cities were completely buried, they were preserved. This makes them a unique document of Greco-Roman life. Why? Both primary and secondary sources are valuable. Using both can add to your understanding of a topic. For example, a primary source may give important details or express emotions caused by a situation. A secondary source might include what was happening in several places at once, the outcome, or what we later learned about the causes. By using both kinds of sources, you get a more complete picture. You can also check for errors or bias by using more than one source. How? To use a primary source or a translation of a primary source, consider the subject matter and point of view. You know that Pliny the Younger wrote this letter, but do you know who he was? Look up his name in an encyclopedia. If you have a subject to study, how do you get ideas for primary sources? Secondary sources will identify people involved, and you can search to find what they wrote. Also, secondary sources often list the primary sources they used. As with all research, you must also consider the speaker in both primary and secondary sources. In looking at letters, you may also want to consider the person to whom the letter was written. If you are not familiar with Tacitus, look up his name in an encyclopedia or Roman history book. Determine the main idea of the excerpt of the letter. This will help you with the subject matter. Then, consider how the encyclopedia entry adds to what you learn from the letter. If any of the words in Pliny's letter are unfamiliar, look them up so that you will understand what he is saying. Think and apply. 1. How do we know that Pliny the Younger is describing a terrible event? 2. What is the mood of the letter? 3. How do the primary and secondary sources create a more complete picture of the event?